On to Iran now. The country's supreme leader has lifted all limits on the range of the country's missiles. According to a senior Iranian lawmaker, this marks a significant potential shift, in fact, in Iran's defense posture following the conflict with Israel and the United States in June. A member of Parliament's National Security Committee saying that Iran has developed and will continue to develop its missile program to any extent it deems necessary, while Khamenei had previously capped missile range at 2,200 kilometers. He has now removed any such limitation. And he added that Tehran will accept no limits on missile range, describing it as the most important element of the country's military power. While hardline members of Iran's fractious parliament are often known to make hawkish statements that do not always necessarily reflect the policy of the top brass, it's rare for MPs to specifically invoke Khamenei in their remarks. And that is why this statement of his becomes important. It also comes a day after the Iranian Foreign Minister, remember, accused Israel of lying about Iran's ambitions to develop intercontinental ballistic missiles in order to deceive the United States, referring to the Israeli Prime Minister, who had claimed that Iran was developing missiles capable of hitting major American cities. Araghchi accused Israel of deceiving the US into attacking the Iranian people. And he added that with the failure of that action, Israel is now attempting to create an imaginary threat out of Iran's defense capabilities. Earlier this week itself, another senior Iranian official also rejected the idea of limiting Iran's missile program, calling the US proposal to cap the missile range completely unacceptable. The head of the Armed Forces Judiciary has said during a meeting with the IRGC aerospace commanders that Americans will take the wish of reducing Iran's missile range to below 500 kilometers to the grave. He added that while Iran is prepared to negotiate over its nuclear program, it will not hold any talks about its missiles. And Iran's security chief had confirmed last month that Washington had floated the idea to limit Iran's missile range. He said no honorable person would accept such a condition. The move to lift missile range restrictions, even if currently voiced by lawmakers, signals Iran's intent to assert its missile capabilities and maintain them without limits. There are few awards that invite intrigue in such a way, grab global headlines in such a manner. And this year, the spotlight seems to have wandered from the award to one figure. No points for guessing. We're talking about the Nobel Peace Prize and US President Donald Trump. The self-styled peace president has been presenting himself as a global peacemaker-in-chief and highlighting his role in brokering peace agreements, from Israel and Hamas to a few others, more debatable as well, and hinting that perhaps the Nobel Peace Prize belongs to him. But just because he wants it does not mean that the Norwegian Nobel Committee will be handing him that award this Friday. Not because of politics. The committee is independent, of course, and bound by Alfred Nobel's will, which calls for honoring those who advance peace, disarmament, and international cooperation. And while Trump has certainly made headlines, his record suggests a more complicated story. Let's start off with international cooperation here. Remember, this is the same leader who has leaned sharply isolationist as far as American foreign policy goes, exiting the WHO, the Paris Climate Accord, international tax agreements, multilateral engagement. Not exactly the aim here, it seems. And then there are the cuts that his administration has made to US foreign aid. What about that as well? The American aid cuts reportedly have jeopardized famine relief in Sudan, vaccination campaigns across sub-Saharan Africa. With research warning of millions of potential deaths, hardly the fraternity between nations that Nobel envisioned, it seems. And then there is the question of disarmament. What about traditional arms control? Treaties with Russia dating back to the Cold War, they have been terminated. Peace through gradual armament reduction, what about that? Not even on the Trump agenda, it seems. Now, to be fair, there are, of course, steps that he has taken in the right direction, absolutely. The Gaza peace plan, for example, the ceasefires, he was able to get Netanyahu on board with a signal towards some visible progress. But it also leaves Palestinians out of the negotiations in a way and does not fully tackle the root cause of the problem. Meanwhile, the Ukraine war continues. During his election campaign, remember, he had promised to end that war in 24 hours of taking office. Well, it's been 9 months since he took charge and the war is showing no signs of slowing down. He did get both sides talking, but efforts seem to have fizzled out. And that's not all. Let's look at Trump's measures within America. He has deployed the National Guard, citing lawlessness in several parts, turning American cities into battlefields in a way, despite state protests. And let's not forget the harsh and brutal crackdown on immigrants across America. Also, while Trump continues to push for Nobel glory, the quieter heroes who are working tirelessly for peace, exactly the kind that Nobel envisioned, it seems, are being forgotten. Take Sudan's emergency response rooms, for example. Grassroots networks that sprang up as war erupted in April 2023. With famine spreading, millions displaced, ordinary Sudanese volunteers, teachers, engineers, students organized schools, soup kitchens, pharmacies, medical clinics, and even restored downed power lines. Hyper-local and selfless, these networks are saving lives amid that chaos and are building the foundations for peace from the ground up. Surely these are the kind of efforts that also deserve recognition. Unlike the lobby-driven campaigns for celebrity candidates in a way and the high-profile candidates out there, these are genuine acts of humanity under the most difficult conditions imaginable. So the question still is, will Donald Trump get the Peace Prize, and does he deserve it? This year, the spotlight belongs to the unsung heroes across the world. Ordinary citizens doing extraordinary work to keep the hope alive, even as the world watches the chaos unfold. Will Trump get the award remains to be seen. We will know in a few hours. Our next story is about Pakistan, the same country that cannot feed its people, is neck deep in debt, and remains on the global watch list for terror financing. It has now come up with its boldest idea yet, an Eastern Islamic NATO alliance. At a time when inflation is out of control, foreign reserves scraping the bottom of the barrel, millions at home cannot afford a basic meal, Islamabad is pitching a grand military alliance of Muslim nations, one that would mirror NATO's collective defense structure. A country that's been propped up for years by IMF bailouts wants to make a pan-Islamic security bloc now. And who would be leading the charge? None other than the Deputy Prime Minister, Ishaq Dar, who disclosed that several Arab and non-Arab countries had expressed interest in concluding security agreements with Pakistan along the lines of the recent Strategic Mutual Defense Pact with Saudi Arabia. The Pakistan Deputy Prime Minister seems to believe that Pakistan, despite being financially in that situation, could someday lead the 57-member Islamic world. It seems Pakistan's ambition is not short in supply. Neither is their delusion. And let's not forget, this is the same Pakistan that has been accused time and again of sheltering terrorist groups as part of the new diplomatic theater now. Pakistan's Prime Minister was in Malaysia this week, where the two countries signed 6 MOUs, ranging from halal certification to anti-corruption. And while handshakes and photo ops may suggest growing ties with Malaysia, it's also clear this is also about building legitimacy for Islamabad's so-called Eastern Islamic NATO project. The same Malaysia that has its own issues with extremism is now being quoted as a potential partner in this ambitious military dream. But then here's the reality check, the real question. What does Pakistan bring to the table except instability, economic mess, a dangerous legacy of radicalism? How can a country that's unable to defend its own economy or protect its own people from extremist violence promise security to others? Is this really about Islamic solidarity, or is this just another geopolitical gimmick from a country that's running out of options, out of credibility, and very nearly out of time in a way? Pakistan may pitch a NATO-like alliance, but who in their right mind would even sign up for it with a country that's still battling ghosts it created in its own backyard?